Thank you, Tony. That was awesome. Tony, that's no joke. I mean, exactly. We were preparing for the bowl game, and Herb had given me a heads up, and Tony gave me a call. And my first exposure to this clinic was a couple years ago. The videos kind of get bootlegged and sent around, and I watched Manny Diaz speak to you guys for about 5 hours, probably over at Opryland, and I said, "Wow, And we do a lot of the same things that Manny does, or at least I think we do a lot of the same things that Manny does. And I was so impressed by him, and have never met him. We've had an email relationship and have gone back and forth a little bit. So that was my first exposure to this clinic. And I love clinics that are football guys. I mean, I'll give you a little bit of background and a little bit of philosophy or identity type things, and then we'll get going as long as we can. And anybody who knows me knows I like to talk about football. And the one thing I do feel about clinics is this. Before I started coaching, I worked for Procter & Gamble, and they used to tell us a buyer buys what a buyer wants. So I don't try to push a shirt on a guy trying to buy a pair of shoes. So along the way, I hope that this will be some dialogue. Please, I want you guys, I want to know, I'm not just talking up here to entertain myself. I'm talking so that you guys can take, in 5 hours, I hope, a handful of things that will go back to your program and help you have a better 2012 season than you had 2011. So yell out, stop me. Let's get what you want rather than what I think it is that you want. So I'm gonna, like I said, talk a little identity, talk a little philosophy, and then I'm literally gonna get up on the board and present to you guys like you guys are my, freshmen, on defense, and then stop, ask questions, go from there. Hey, when we're talking about cover one, I could talk assignment, alignment, or I can get into technique and fundamental right there too. Just stop me and just say this. Hey, can we go on this? And as long as that's the direction we want to go. In 5 hours, we can get a lot done here. So, as Tony said, my name is Bob Shoop, and I'm the defensive coordinator at Vanderbilt. I feel very fortunate to be there. Also with us today are two coaches for us: Durham Cato, who's our quality control defensive assistant, and Sam Williams, who's Durham's our graduate assistant on defense, and Sam's our quality control defensive assistant. So I appreciate them being here today. And Durham was with us this past season, and Sam was on the offensive side and just moved over to our side, so he's coming over to the dark side, so that's good for him. I've coached a lot of different places. Again, I'm a 1988 graduate of Yale University with an economics degree, so what does a guy with an economics degree from Yale do? Of course, he gets into college football coaching. I worked for Procter & Gamble for a year in a sales management training program, selling Pampers and Love's diapers, Charmin, Bounty, and always feminine hygiene products. And I said, that's about enough of this stuff. Let's get back into coaching. And I coached at Yale for a year. I was a receivers coach on a 1989 Ivy League championship team. I was a GA at Virginia. I coached at Northeastern University in Boston for 3 years as a secondary coach. That's my most important job. That's where I met my wife of now, what have we been married now? So 17 years. I have 2 children. One attends Father Ryan right here, and one attends St. Bernard's Junior High. I went back to Yale 94 to 96 as the defensive coordinator. I was fortunate enough to work for a guy named Karim Koza, one of the winningest coaches of all time in the Ivy League. You talk about a great pedigree. He played at Miami of Ohio, the great old coaches. His roommate was Bo Schembechler. His best friend was Bill Mallory, and he was coached by Woody Hayes and Ara Parseghian. So I think that's a pretty good gig he had going there. 1997, I went to Villanova. I was the defensive coordinator there. 98, I was at West Point. I coached at Army. 99 to 2002, I was at Boston College as a secondary coach. 2003 to 2005, I took the head coaching position at Columbia University, an Ivy League school in the Upper West Side of New York City. That one didn't go so well. We struggled a little bit. After that, I went to William & Mary as the defensive coordinator. And as I said, this is my first year here. I've coached the secondary for over 20 years. I've participated as a coach in 6 bowl games now. As a 1AA coach, I've participated in the playoffs on 4 different occasions, and just had a wonderful experience thus far. I'm really excited about, like I said, being here at Vanderbilt and being in Nashville. The thing that I think, if you look at my background, I've always wanted to, and Tony alluded to this a little bit, work at schools where there's a nice blend of academics and athletics. That's always been something that's important to me. I still have maybe that crazy ideal in the student athlete right there, and that's part of the reason I was attracted to Vanderbilt when the opportunity was presented to me. The one thing I'd say about my coaching career, I think I can say this that nobody else can say. I think I've coached and won in an Army-Navy game, coached and won in a Yale-Harvard game, and coached and won in a BC Notre Dame game. So, I think I've got the private schools, the military schools, and the Catholic schools all covered right there. Now I just got to find a way to beat Tennessee. So, and we'll do that. We'll do that. So, like I said, this is our first year here at Vanderbilt. I'm fortunate we had an outstanding. Go ahead. What do I do with this thing here? You want to do that? What do I do? Control it. Just the end button. All right. I thought you put the stats on at the beginning. No. Did you put the stats at the beginning? The end of the beginning? Oh, okay. We call ourselves, when I first, one of my mentors in coaching once told me a philosophy is who you think you are, and identity is who others see you as. And our identity, when I first got to Vanderbilt, was talking to our guys about, we build our defense around three things. We talk about stopping the run, eliminating big plays, and taking the ball away. I want players that can play with passion, players that can play with toughness, and players that can play together. And we formed this identity, and I'll kind of talk more about those things as we get to them right here. But with all those things, this is a team that hadn't had a whole lot of success in the previous 2 seasons before we got there. So we created the identity that we called ourselves the Black Death. At William and Mary, we called ourselves the Green Swarm. Here it was the Black Death. For you, it might be the Red Swarm or whatever it is right there. Just an identity, that when we look to the man to our left and the man to our right, we're going to lay it on the line for one another. We understand that the name on the front of the jersey is more important than the name on the back of the jersey. We understand how individual responsibilities fit into the team concept. We're going to run to the ball like no other team in college football because that's something that we can control. And we're going to do 60 minutes, what I call, full court pressure. If you're a basketball team, we're going to get off the bus blitzing, and we're going to blitz from the first snap of the game, through the last snap of the game. And the players really bought into that identity. If you know anything about Vanderbilt football, we had 5 seniors on the defensive side. Chris Marv, one of the leading all-time tacklers in the SEC. Casey Hayward, who was a second-team All-American, playing in the Senior Bowl next week. Sean Richardson, T.J. Greenstone, and Tim Fugger, all of which have an opportunity to play in the NFL. And they bought in to us right away. And that instantly gave us credibility as far as what we were trying to do and who we were trying to be. And Chris especially, I've never been around an individual like Chris Marv who commands the respect of his teammates and of his coaches and is, really, really the most unusual or uncommon leader I've ever been around. When I got there, like I said, when we talked about our identity, the 3 things we talked about, we wanted players that would play with passion. And to me, there's 2 types of football players. There's those that love to play football and those that love being football players. We want to surround ourselves with guys that love to play football. You guys have them all on your roster too. Guys that love being players. They like to wear the jacket. They like all the things that go with being a football player. I wanted to surround myself with guys that love to play football. And I asked that in the recruiting process. Scale 1 to 10, how important is football to you? 8, coach. 9, coach. Well, why is it not a 10? Well, what about school? More than one thing can be a 10. I want to know why. I want football to be a 10 out of 10 when you ask them, how's it important to them right there. We want guys that love to play football. Love all the things that go in to be a football player. Love the winter program. Love the spring football. Love to compete. Hey, on 4th and 1 when we're playing in Tuscaloosa, you want the ball thrown your way or you want it thrown the other way? Coach, I want it thrown my way. Those are the guys that I love, guys that love to play football. I also look for players that love to compete in everything that they do. And the other thing that I think is a kind of a lost thought, and I think we all talk about it in recruiting sometimes, but we don't probably, you see a guy on film who's this speed or this or the other thing, and you wonder why sometimes a guy who's a 4.7 is better than a player who's a 4.5, or a guy who doesn't meet this physical dimension is better than a guy that's bigger and stronger, faster. Is football IQ. I think especially on the defensive side of the ball, I interview every single player that we recruit. Talk to me about football. Let's talk. How would you describe yourself as a film watcher? How do you prepare? What's your football IQ? Do you make the calls? Do you understand what I'm talking about here? Talk me through a base defense. So when I talk about guys that love to play football, I'm talking about guys that love to play the game, not love to be on the team, guys that love to compete, and guys that have high football IQ. And especially, to me, in our system, and I imagine Tony's system's the same on offense, especially guys at the linebacker and at the safety position, because those guys are asked to do a lot of things. And I think that's why you see some guys get on the field faster than guys that are physically a little bit better. Second thing, we're looking for players who are tough. And football's a tough game, and that's one of the things I really like about football. I got news for you. Playing in the SEC, that's big boy football. You got to bring your big boy shoulder pads every week. When you line up and you see, Vlahos at center, Barrett Jones on one side, and Pfluger on the other side at Alabama, and Trent Richardson, you sit there and go, how the hell are we going to stop these guys? Or you watch Tyler Wilson line up with 3 wide receivers that should be a track team at Arkansas, or it's physically and mentally tough in our league. And I think when you watch the national championship game the other day, Alabama and LSU, you sure see that not only does Alabama have great players, but they're physically and mentally an extremely tough football team. And I don't apologize for that. We have one of the things, physical and mental toughness. Toughness is required. Toughness is required to be a championship team, especially defensive football. In today's game, again, you talk about, we hire coaches nowadays. I hear people talk about them because they develop relationships and they're a recruiter and things like that. I think when I watch the product on the field nowadays, there's times I want to vomit. When I watch the bowl games, I watch the way teams tackle. I thought the tackling was as poor in this bowl season as I've ever seen. You watch, I guess defense in the NFL is now optional when I watch these playoff games yesterday, especially in the last 4 minutes of the Saints-49ers game. But football, and especially defensive football, requires intensity, and it requires precision, and it requires you being physical. And that's what we talk about when we talk about mental and physical toughness. And I don't apologize for that. And you can't apologize for that. The last thing we talk about to our guys is when we talk about our identity, we want passion, toughness, team. Passion, toughness, team. And team is players of a team-first mindset. Smart and selfless individuals. Guys who understand the name on the front, again, is more important than the name on the back. Guys who understand how their individual responsibility fits into the team concept. We always talk of one of our goals each week, and I reward our guys consistently, is for grading out a winner, doing your job within the framework of the defense. A defensive end containing on a pass rush when a blitz is coming the other side may not get any statistical reward for that, but makes the play within the framework of the defense. You hear guys on TV all the time, oh, that's a coverage sack. Well, a defensive back gets no statistical reward for a coverage sack, but that's something I'll pull out and show on the film to the entire defense. Hey, you can make the play without making the tackle. That's what we talk about all the time. Make the play without making the tackle. And those are the things I think that we need to reward. And you look at our defense, and Tony said it, we finished 19th in the country this year in total defense. Show you how tough the league is. That's good enough for 6th in the SEC when you finish 19th in the country in total defense. But again, we had one player make first or second team all-conference because we were a bunch of no-name guys out there who bought into a system and said, they believe how individual responsibilities will fit a team concept. And the last thing I said is when you talk about an identity, we're looking for a group of guys who will never be out-hit and out-hustled. I want when you watch our film, you say, damn, those guys fly around. They're going to fly around and they're going to hit you. And that's what we're talking about. When I was at Boston College, that was Virginia Tech. I remember watching them on film week in, week out, and still kind of is. That's their identity. And damn, that's a team that flies around. In Alabama, Coach Saban and Coach Smart have done down there. You look at those guys, you say, every time you put on the film, you see, wow, that's a team that flies to the ball and hits people. And I think also that's something that I thought was a little bit of an edge for us this season. When I watched us, I didn't think, maybe, and Tony said this, I'm not naive enough to say, I recognize what conference we play in, and I recognize if Alabama's level of ability is 10, ours might be a 6 or a 7, but we're going to play at a 6 or 7 every single game and every single week, and that was what was real important to us. And where other teams in our league, when I watched them on film, I didn't think they played as hard as they could on a 100% consistent basis. And I thought that's what gave us a chance and kept us in a lot of games right there. All right, so I got to figure this thing out. All right, philosophy. Our philosophy as coaches, if I were to say, help take the student athlete where he can't take himself. I'm a big believer in that. My job is to help develop a young man to his fullest potential as a man, as a student, and as a football player. When I sit in a home and recruit, that's what I try to help him with. I'm there to help him reach his potential. My philosophy of coaching is that you don't treat players the same, but you treat them fairly, because no two individuals are the same. I have 2 children who are very good baseball players. Being the good dad that I am, I try to take them to hitting instructors and things like that to improve their baseball. One guy once told me there's style and then there's fundamental. There's certain fundamentals to me that are non-negotiable in coaching, but there's style. There's also style. Guys have their own style, unique to them. So I'm not trying to make everybody into a cookie-cutter image, but there are certain fundamentals to me, that are non-negotiable. And we help take the student-athlete as a person, as a student, as a football player, where he can't take himself. One of the things that we talk about all the time is establishing trust. Let the players know we care about them. And what I mean by that is, I think any player that I coach will tell you, with me, there's no gray area. There's always going to be black and white, and that's what we talk about, honesty. I don't know any other way. And I may not always, as I tell the players, I may not tell you what you want to hear, but I'll tell you how it is. Again, one of my mentors once said to me, coaching is a little bit like medicine. It's not supposed to taste good. It's just supposed to make you better. And that's how I approach it. I mean, with me, you guys all know it, and sometimes as coaches, we all fall into the trap. I call it coach speak. And, I look at guys whenever I start to fall into coach speak, and they look at me like, Coach, I know you're just bullshitting me here. Come on, man. Let's cut to the chase. And I try never to fall into that. And now with a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, I always try to think how I'd want my children to be treated under those circumstances. 100% commitment. Phrase I stole from somewhere along the line. 100% commitment means 100% of the people being 100% committed 100% of the time. Commitment's not a sometimes thing. It's an all-the-time thing. That's what we ask from our players. You can't just be committed when it's good. All the good things are happening. You got to be committed all the time. You got to be committed, after the 31-7 loss. You got to be committed at the 5:30 morning workout in mid-February right there. 100% committed. So if you can't look at me and say you're 100% committed, we can't have the men in this room be 100% committed 100% of the time, then we can't look each other in the face and say we're a committed football team. That's something that's important to me. I'm a big believer, when we talk to our guys at times, things may go wrong, but we ask our players never to lose faith in yourself or the system. Believe in yourself, believe in what we're doing. And our job as coaches all the time, and one of the things I look for, I always call myself a problem solver. It's an opportunity to improve. It's when things aren't going well. When I think about coaching, I always think about these things. When I try to solve a problem, is it a philosophical issue? Are we just screwed up? I mean, is there something we're doing that's screwed up? Is it a scheme issue? Maybe this scheme just isn't correct right there. Is it an execution issue? Maybe this person's just not executing the technique the way we want to. And if it's none of those things, then maybe it's a personnel issue. So we always look at those type of things right there. So try to identify, there's a reason why you have 20 big runs on your big play tape or 15 big passes. And it may not always be, it's one of those four things. Is it a philosophical issue? Is it a scheme issue? Is it an execution issue? And if it's none of those things, maybe we got to change our personnel. So as I said, I think about myself as a problem solver. Be great teachers. Let's not forget that we're great teachers. Everybody, and I've never been blessed to be at a place where we had all 4- and 5-star on rivals or things like that. I still think one of my greatest strengths and our greatest strengths at Vanderbilt is player development. I enjoy, watching a player go from a freshman DB to a guy who's a 3rd or 4th round draft pick and feel great pride in teaching and instructing and guiding a guy. I think that's one of the things we got to keep sight of, that we got to be great teachers in this profession. The ability to guide, the ability to instruct. And we all have a generic message, but I believe in altering that generic message to the individual player. People learn different ways. I've got some guys who learn better by repetition, some guys who learn better by on the board or video, watching themselves, watching someone else do it, and just tailoring your approach to the individual player. And that's something I, again, take great pride in, player development. Identifying the strengths of an individual, identifying this and putting them in a position to be successful. Be sure the players know what is expected of them. One of the things that I think probably drives us all crazy as adults or as kids is when something comes out of nowhere. To me, the ground rules are laid from the very first meeting. I promise you that. From that very first meeting, players understand what the expectations are. And I think as long as you set expectations up front and allow people to know what the expectations are, and there's no hidden surprises, there's no hidden agenda in anything that we do, and you're honest with people, they can handle it. It always drives us crazy when you veer off the path at some particular point right there, and that's what we try not to do. Demand a championship level in all that we do. To me, I always tell our guys the next one, don't ever lower the standard. I think leadership, I read a book by Colin Powell once, and he talked about leadership sometimes means pissing people off. Leadership's not a popularity contest, and sometimes I think we as coaches lower the bar or lower the standard. We lower the standard in order to be liked by our coaches, by our players and things like that. Don't ever lower the standard. There's a championship level in everything that we do, from a preparation standpoint, from an out-of-season standpoint, from a practice standpoint, from a communication standpoint on game day, from an execution standpoint. And I came to Vanderbilt with no other agenda than to build a championship defense. And that's all I've ever said. All I've ever said is I want to build a championship caliber defense. One that you may laugh at me or say, at Vanderbilt it's possible? I mean, one that can compete for an SEC championship and get to a New Year's Day bowl. And that's my only agenda. And to me, our goals, if I showed you our goal sheet this year, we played pretty damn good defense, but we still only accomplished about 40% of our goals. And the reason being is because I feel that the goals that I set for us are to be a championship caliber defense. Not to be a mediocre middle of the road defense, but to be a championship caliber defense. And lastly, be creative. I'm a big believer in this. Find ways to stimulate the players and get the information to them. I mean, like I said, everybody learns differently. No two individuals are the same. I think I'm fair with the players, but I think at the same time, I think you have to treat players fairly, but not all the same. Again, one guy learns better by a PowerPoint presentation. Another guy learns better, on the board. Another guy learns better by watching video of himself, of a pro team doing that. A guy learns better by on the field, repetition. And I think it's important that we're creative, finding ways to get the information to the players, stimulating their interest. One of the phrases I always use all the time is, it's not my team, it's not your team, it's our team. And a recruit just asked me this on Friday. He asked me, how do you feel about feedback from the players? I promise you there's probably not a coach in the country who wants more feedback than I do. The relationship I had with Chris Marv, our middle linebacker this year, the relationship I developed over time with the linebackers we had at William & Mary as our signal callers, I want feedback from them. Chris and I, when we would go over the game plan on a Monday, he'd say, we did some different things where we called Blitz A versus Formation A, Blitz B versus Formation B. Chris would say, just call it this. I know what you want. I'll get it called. Or something along those lines. Or you won't call that. I know you won't call that, so don't call that. Here's what and again, when the recruit asked me the question the other day, I mean, I think that, again, we talked about relationships. We talked about honesty. We talked about trust. I don't want some freshman corner coming in and saying, no. Here's how I'm going to do it. I mean, I think it's a two-way street there. You develop that relationship, you develop that trust, and you know who your guys are that you need to reach out to. And it's important to me that, again, I find creative ways to stimulate the players, keep them interested, different ways of rewarding them. This year we gave out, obviously we can't give a bonus or anything like that, but at different places I've been, we've, when guys have done what you've asked them to do in winter program or academically or in spring ball or on game day, I gave them what I called a credit card at one place where they got to cut the line at the training table or got to cut the line, in the training room or something along those lines when there's a line back there. Pick the music on the team bus going to the game, or pick the movie on the team bus, pick the music for pregame, something along those lines to keep them stimulated, to keep them interested. We gave out candy bars this year for winning grades, things along those lines. Just little things that obviously we can't, like an NFL team, give you a bonus or provide you, if you're working at a school, the teacher of the year, parking spot, or things along those lines. But there's things that we can do, that are creative, that get the guys stimulated and recognize that you're seeing their success. I think anytime you can show good plays on video in front of the team, especially something that, as I said before, is making the play without making the tackle, something along those lines. Hey, watch how this guy contained here. Yeah, okay, 42, you got the sack right there, but it was because this guy contained. Or watch the coverage on this play. This is exactly what we're looking for. Anything along those lines to recognize, success of the players and things along those lines, I think is really important. Black Death Commandments. So that's our identity. Like I said, we, want players to play with passion, toughness, and a team-first mindset. Passion, toughness, team. I mean, that's really what it is. And I'm a big when we go through this, you're going to hear that I got these little sayings, like 3-word sayings. Like we just interviewed a bunch of guys for a corner position, and one of the things I see with young coaches now is individuals not having a progression. I think people can only take in so much information. So a lot of times I have quick little sayings, passion, toughness, team, something along those lines. When we talk about man-to-man coverage, you're going to hear me talk about 3-10-30, glide, arm bar, elbow wedge, whatever it is right there. Just a little quick phrase that means something to the guys, and I think that's how you do it. Well, when we talk about our commandments, a commandment to me is something, these things are non-negotiable within the framework of our defense. And these are things, when I talk to our guys about, that have no regard to ability at all. Whether it's that 9th grader on his first day of practice for you guys, whether it's that senior who started 33 straight games for you, or whatever it is right there. Knowledge of assignments. We'll accept no blows on assignments. To me, that's on you. Knowledge of assignments right there. Understanding your alignment and understanding your assignment. I'm still a big believer, and I just watched our big play tape. Our Achilles heel as a defense this year, if we had one, was we still gave up too many big plays. A big play to us is defined as a run over 15 and a pass over 25. And over the course of the year, incredibly enough, and I'll show you a stat later on, we give up in 13-game season 45 big plays to us. And that's too many. Our goal is usually 2 or less a game to me, has always kind of told me a story that was pretty good. If we were giving up 2 or less a game, I thought that we were doing the right things on defense. So that was, if we had an Achilles heel, that was it. But my point is, when you look at your big play tape, more big plays happen in college football, pro football, high school football because of missed assignments or missed alignments than happen because of a mismatch or anything along those lines. And that held true again this year. When I put it on our film, you look at it and go, what the hell is he doing? You got to turn, whatever it is, turn the play inside, or a missed assignment over here, or a missed alignment over there, rather than just some guy just blowing by a guy in a true all-out mismatch right there. Great effort. I always tell our guys, great effort will get you on the field. I love the guy who comes into my office and says, Coach, can you talk to Coach Bankins, our special teams coordinator? Get me on kickoff team. Your great effort will get you on the field. Again, I talked about our ability level maybe being a 6 or a 7, and Alabama and LSU maybe being up there about a 10. Well, the thing about us is we played 10 D linemen this year. We rotated 10 D linemen. In a 900-play season, the D lineman that had the most snaps for us this year, I think Durham had 450 snaps, played half the game. I mean, we were fresh. We played 4 different linebackers. We played 9 DBs probably, in a rotational normal basis right there. Because great effort will get you on the field. And we found that what we discovered was keeping our guys fresh and them giving us great effort, and always playing at a 6 or a 7 level was better than that guy who had a 7 or 8 ability out there because he's tired playing with a 5 or just not loafing or whatever it is right there. So great effort will find your way. You'll find your way onto the field for us with great effort. And great effort to me isn't talking about it. It's showing me on film. A philosophy is who you think you are, and identity is who others see you as. Your identity is what you see on film. Your resume is what I see on the film. Desire to hit. As maybe Coach Franklin won't pay me if I say this, but as much as the offensive guys are trying to make this basketball on grass, and I watched the Baylor-Washington game on television, as much as they don't like to hit apparently, football's still a game of hitting. I still think, when you're playing the game, man, it's you got to go out and hit. No hit, no play to us. I want our identity to be one that we are as physical as any team in college football. And again, you watch the game Monday night, I think we'd all say the team in the red and white was pretty damn physical. I mean, they were physical. And when they tackle, Mark Barron tackled you. Courtney Upshaw tackled you right there. That crew of guys hit you and tackled you hard. And that's what I want to be. I want to be physical. That's something that we can still control. And I still think it ain't volleyball, it ain't checkers, it ain't badminton. Football's still a game of intimidation. And the team that hits better is generally the team that's going to win the game when it's all said and done. And we talked about it before, mental and physical toughness. Toughness is required. In the conference that we play in and the conference that you all play in, I'm certain as well, I'm just week in, week out, every play, every series is so mentally and physically tough. You've just got to be mentally and physically tough in this game. So when we talk about commandments, we talk about to our guys, no blows on assignments. That's something that everybody in this room can control. Great effort will get you on the field. The desire to hit and mental and physical toughness. And those are the commandments. Those are things that we ask from our players that they do that have absolutely zero with regard to their ability. As I said, I came to Vanderbilt with one agenda and one agenda only, and that was to build a championship defense. And I say this all the time. There's a lot of good defenses, but at the end of the day, there's only going to be one championship defense. There's a lot of good ones. I mean, what we did this year was great. Everybody's patting us on the back, telling us how great we are. But at the end of the day, there's only one championship defense. And I draw on this a lot. I show a lot of video of NFL teams. I mean, the 2000 Ravens, I always show Ray Lewis videos. I love showing our guys Ray Lewis because I think he embodies what defensive football is all about. That 2002 Tampa Bay defense with John Lynch, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Ronnie Barber. Totally different philosophy, but they were a championship defense. The Steelers of the late 2000s with Troy Polamalu and that crew of guys and James Harrison. Again, a different style from an X&O standpoint, but a championship defense. There's a lot of good defenses, but only one championship defense. And when we talk about it, these are the things that we think are our core values, if you will, with regard to building a championship defense. One thing a coach, again, one of my mentors once shared with me, and I think it's important to understand, is play defense, not defenses. Now, if I would say to you there's one thought I'd had in here that if you took home with you, take that thought home with you, and it sounds like kind of a stupid quote, but at the time I think he said to me, I thought it was kind of a stupid quote, but when I look back on it, he's 100% right. I can draw 500 blitzes in here. I could draw 1 million blitzes. And to me, it's not about what I know. It's about what we can execute. And football is a mindset out there. Defensive football is a mindset, like I talked about. It's all about flying to the football, knocking people on their ass. And sometimes I think we get caught up in the X's and the O's of the thing. And the reason when I went back in 2009 when I was at William & Mary, we were number 1 in the country in rush defense, scoring defense, total defense, number 2 in pass defense. And when I came away from it, I said, you know why? Everybody said, wow, what was the big secret? I said, you know why? Because we ran to the ball and we tackled better than any team on our schedule. That's about what it was. So when we talk about it, we talk about running to the ball, beating blocks, and tackling. I mean, that's what we talk about. That's non-negotiable to us. And we put our money where our mouth is on this. I'm still a big believer in fundamentals and techniques, not just schemes. The first thing we coach every day in practice, we do a pursuit drill. Our coaches coach the fundamentals of beating blocks. From a defensive line perspective, beating a base block, a reach block, a cutoff block. From a linebacker's perspective, a high block and a low block using hat and hands. From a secondary perspective, a stock block, a cut block, a crack block. I mean, we coach those on a daily basis. And tackling. And we do a circuit with our guys throughout the course of spring football and the course of training camp, which I'll go over today. And it'll seem kind of elementary, but we do a tackling circuit where we teach form and fit. We teach an angle tackle. We teach 2-on-1 tackles. We teach a low tackle. We do tackling stations. We call it a tackling circuit with our guys on a daily basis, throughout the course of training camp and spring football on a daily basis. Now, once you get into the season, you don't have the same amount of time and you're preparing for a game, but we find a way to get tackling. If I had 5 minutes of individual every day and nothing else, I would do tackling every day. To me, we talk to our guys about swarming to the ball, relentless pursuit, never-ending pressure. I mean, again, I'm a big believer, and the first slide our guys see on the PowerPoint, whenever they come in, swarming, flying to the football. I mean, to me, the analogy that I use is over here, polar opposites are the words swarm and ooze. If I said you wanted to be on one side or the other, you don't want to be oozing to the ball. You want to be swarming to the ball. 11 black and gold jerseys flying to the ball. When we told our guys, when we donned the black and the gold, it was like putting on Superman's cape. It was like putting on our armor right there. We just couldn't be beat. And the guys bought into it. And they believed in it. And it was 11 men function as one, flying to the ball like no other. Relentless pursuit and never-ending pressure. I believe this about any level of football. Pressure, you either create it or you feel it. And the first, you've probably seen the EA Sports, the Tiger Woods EA Sports, where he's standing there leaning on his putter, and there's a guy about to putt. It's kind of an animated thing, and the guy's knees start shaking, and Tiger Woods says, "You need a second?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm fine." And his knees start shaking again, and that's pressure to me. When you put pressure on people, people make mistakes. And when we want to put pressure, never-ending pressure on a quarterback, he's eventually going to make a mistake. We feel in that cumulative effect. If we're running the ball, we're swarming with relentless pressure, and we provide never-ending pressure. A coach joked to me before pregame this year. He said, "You guys get off the butts, blitzing." And he's right. It's 60 minutes, what we call black and gold hell. I mean, it's 60 minutes of full-court pressure. But I do believe in this. And by the way, I said I still believe in fundamentals and techniques. Just because we pressure doesn't mean we don't coach the fundamentals and techniques of that. That's not, like some team might play 4-3, cover 3 to put an eighth guy in the box. We just blitz. That's our base. Coach always says, "No, we're just playing base here in spring ball." Well, our base is this. Just because we're blitzing doesn't mean there aren't a lot of fundamentals and techniques associated with that. One of the things I hate, and we do a blitz circuit. We teach our guys how to blitz. We teach them, from in front, from in behind, proper hedge technique, what they're keying, and things like that. Just like you'd teach a D lineman a 3-technique stance, alignment, get off, power step, hat and hand placement, separation, escape, pursuit. We teach our guys blitz techniques. That doesn't mean that it's scheme, it's fundamentals and techniques involved in the scheme. I said it a minute ago, it's not what we do, it's how we do it. And I tell our guys this, there's going to come a time, and you guys have guys on your team that are the same way, the best player on your team could show up and beat the other guys on your team and maybe in your league just on athletic ability. Well, there's going to come a time where he's going to face someone equal or of better ability to him. And it's important that he knows fundamentals and techniques to be what he wants to be. I always use the analogy with our guys. I can go race the fastest player on our team now, and I'm certain that he could beat me by a significant amount, but he wouldn't need to push himself to do that. And the hardest thing is in practice, pushing your guys to play with great fundamentals and great techniques on a daily basis. And what we tell our guys, it's not what we do, it's how we do it. And that's why I always say we can beat you anyway. There's going to come a day where we're pressured and we're blitzing and it's just not working. The Wake Forest game this year is a great example. They did a great job picking up what we were doing and what they had a pretty good beat on us. So we had to go to plan B, and plan B to us was just playing ball, man. And we just played with fundamentals and techniques and held them to 300 yards and 7 points because our guys were ready to do it. I always tell our guys in front of the room, I said, it's not what's on this sheet of paper, it's what we can execute. And we'll beat your ass anyway. You want to play? Let's go. You want us to blitz every snap? Let's rock. You want us to not blitz at all? Let's go. Anyway, you can't get reliant, to me, on scheme. If you get reliant on scheme, then the day that the scheme's not working, suddenly you got to trust your fundamentals. And again, it's not what we know as coaches, it's what we can execute. I talked before about being a great teacher. Well, to me, teaching's a little different than coaching because a lot of people can recite back to me what their alignment is, what their assignment is, what their technique is. It's not that, it's their ability to execute it. You sit in a meeting room and a guy can say, Coach, my alignment is, I'm a 5 technique. My key is this. My responsibility is this. Well, that's great. He can read it back to me, but then he's got to go out and execute it. So to me, it's not what we know, it's what we can execute. It's not what we know, it's what our players can execute. And that's really, really important to me. It's the things that you're good at right there. A couple things, to me, keeping it simple. I always say, I believe in the KISS theory right there, keeping it simple, stupid. If you think, you stink. I do believe that. If you're out there thinking rather than playing, there's a split second to react during the course of the game. And if you're thinking about what your alignment is, what your assignment is, you're stinking. I'm a big believer that you don't, it may not be the perfect call, but get the call into your guys quick and allow them to execute the defense. And you're better off doing that than trying to make the perfect call all the time, which goes back to my play defense, not defenses. If I had a flaw as a play caller on defense, sometimes I think I try to make the perfect call. And then this person, as I said to me, no, just play defense, not defenses. Let them execute. Let them get out there and just play. I believe in making it easy on us, hard on the offense, same as teaching. You'll hear me a lot of times say, when we get into the blitz game and some of the things, we have a blitz called bench storm, and we have a blitz called bench sting. Storm, strong outside. Sting, strong inside. Well, it's same as teaching for the corners. It's same as teaching for the free safety and the strong safety. So, when I talk to them about that, it's same as. So, to me, it's teaching a handful of techniques and teaching concepts and then kind of fitting them into a particular game plan. It's got to be easy on us, hard on the offense. Play fast and place as much productive speed on the field as you possibly can. Our defensive philosophy is to be as fast as we can. We'll take an undersized guy who can be disruptive before we'll take a big guy who can't move. Like most people in recruiting, in the secondary recruiting, a bunch of corners. Those that can't become corners will move in and become safeties. We'll recruit a lot of safety-type bodies. Those that are safeties, can't make it into safety, they might move to outside linebacker. We'll recruit linebackers. Those that don't make it as an outside linebacker might move to an inside linebacker, could move down to a D-end. We'll recruit D-ends. You'll grow into maybe defensive tackles, a 3 technique who might become a 1 technique. And we don't recruit a lot of defensive tackles. The ones that don't make it there end up on the offensive side of the ball in a lot of cases like that. And some of the best offensive linemen I think you see in college football started out maybe as defensive recruits and things like that. So that's kind of how we handle that right there. The scheme when we talk today is, I'm a big believer in identifying players' strengths. I've never coached again in a place where I could just say, wow, this is awesome. wow, we get the best at every position. I mean, place players in a position to have success. I'm a big believer in player development. I'm a big believer in, I call it interchangeable parts. In baseball, they say you want to be good up the middle, the catcher, the pitcher, second base, and shortstop, and in center field. I think in football today, you want to be good, I call it the alleys. Your defensive ends, your outside backers, and your safeties, with today's spread and perimeter type offenses, all have to be kind of that same type of guy. Maybe with a slightly different body type, but they all need to be uniquely athletic right there. And our safeties and outside linebackers are almost interchangeable parts in a lot of ways. Teaching guys more than one job. So suddenly we have 14 guys that we think are above the line as far as ability. We could make it look like we got 22 guys out there because of interchangeable parts and putting people in positions to be successful. Player development, I'm still, like I said, I truly believe in developing individuals. Identifying what their strengths are and putting them in a position to be successful. And in our scheme, and I hope with your scheme too, it's personnel driven, not scheme driven. What I mean by that is, I think at Vanderbilt and other places I've coached, rather than trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, rather than trying to recruit guys to a particular scheme, we've had to tailor our scheme to the players that we have on the roster. Like when I talk today, I'm going to identify one of our linebackers as a star. And a star to me is a hybrid strong safety outside linebacker for us. For us this year, we gravitated to a 4-2-5 package rather than a 4-3 package. Now, our scheme is, when we talk about it, we're part Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the old school Tampa 4-3, cover 2, Monty Kiffin, that group of guys. We're part what we did at Boston College, high zone pressure, things like that, and part what we call our chaos package, which is maybe if you watch the Steelers, the Packers, the Eagles, the Ravens, some kind of unorthodox 3-down stuff where we come after you on certain down and distance. What we found this year was we really needed to tailor that scheme. Our best 11 players happened to be 4-down linemen, 2 linebackers, 3 safeties, and 2 corners when it was all said and done. So we tailored the scheme to what the individuals were capable of doing. Same calls, same things along those lines, but we ended up tailoring it. As I talked about in our scheme, pressure. This is non-negotiable. You either create it or you feel it. And we believe in this, wreck the decision maker. One of the phrases I use when we talk about our goals, which I'll talk about in a second, is wrecking the decision maker. It's a cumulative effect when you get your ass after the quarterback. We're going to get our ass and we're going to get our hits on the quarterback. Our goal every week was 10 good hits on the quarterback. I mean, that's what we were looking for right there. 60 minutes of black and gold hell. The other team's got to feel, they've got to feel like we got 14 guys on the field. I want them to say, holy shit, how many guys? Where did he come from? Where did this come from? And the ability to show a blitz from over here and come off the backside. The ability to not show and blitz. The ability to show and not go. I mean, sometimes that's better than blitzing in a lot of ways. Just the threat of never-ending pressure is, to me, one of the things that we're looking for. And that little phrase at the bottom, no conscience. I haven't put that sign on the board in my room here at Vanderbilt. That's one thing that sat on my board at William and Mary all the time, because I think sometimes, they were making fun of the Saints yesterday because they were talking about Drew Brees saying they keep their foot to the pedal right there, the pedal to the metal or whatever. Well, that's the way we are in defense. I mean, I think against Cincinnati in a bowl game, we might have blitzed 60 out of 73 plays. I mean, that's, sometimes I think offensive play callers talk about, did you follow, does a guy blitz on consecutive snaps? I mean, in the red zone, or does he not, or this or that? I mean, I think offensive play callers are always thinking about things like that. Well, against us, you better be prepared because we may, blitz on every, as I said, that's a base to us. And no conscience is where I come from on that. Really want to have no conscience as far as our play calling. I mean, we're keeping our foot to the metal, and we want to do the things that it takes to put never-ending pressure on your ass. Characteristics of a championship defense. Now, as we get into this, as you look at what you do, whatever it is you do on defense, I don't care. I mean, I've been a 3-3, and we have some 3-3 principles, 3-3-5. I've been a 4-3. I've been a 4-2-5. As I said, it doesn't matter to me. It's fitting the scheme to what your personnel is capable of doing. But I don't care whether it's the 2000 Ravens with Ray Lewis or the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Steelers, the Alabama defense of this year. I will bet you these 3 things, these 3 characteristics right here, the top 3 characteristics, are things that are synonymous with any championship defense. And whatever we have, whatever defense we build with the thought of these 3 things. The first one, and that's nothing revolutionary, we stop the run. I mean, I am committed to whatever that means, stopping the run. In 2002 at Vanderbilt, they gave up 4.5 yards a carry, 193 yards a game. In 2011, we gave up 3.6 yards a carry and 30 yards a game. 63 yards less and 0.9, almost a full yard less. We were fourth in the SEC in rush defense, I think, behind LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. That's something I'm real proud of right there. We made a commitment to stopping the run. Well, if you're committed to stopping the run, that means at times you're going to put your guys in a one-on-one situation on the perimeter. Stop the run, eliminate big plays. I told you before, a big play to us is defined as a run of 15 or more or a pass of 25 or more. So to me, a run of 15 or more is because of three things. It's because of missed assignment, missed alignment. It's because of bad pursuit, not keeping the ball in front and inside, or it's bad tackling. Occasionally a guy's going to get blown off the line. Occasionally a linebacker get blocked. But those guys in the back end got to cup the ball, keep it in front and inside, and tackle. In the pass game, a big play to me is eliminating yards after the catch, doing a great job keeping the ball in front and inside. All zone defenses that we have what we call a no-cover zone. 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage and 5 yards from the sideline. There's a deep zone. You never want the ball thrown over your head. There's an intermediate zone, the area between the deep coverage and the under coverage. You don't want the ball thrown in that area. And there's an under coverage. There's a no-cover zone. We want the ball in zone coverage to be thrown there, and we'll run like crazy and trap the mouse. That's what we talk about. In the run game, this year we gave up, this is amazing to me now, 25 snaps accounted for 589 yards, 23.5 yards a play. That's the bad news. We give 25 runs of 15 or more. You look at the rest of them, though, 448 snaps accounted for just over 1,100 yards or 2.5 yards a play. So roughly 35% of the offense in the run game against us happened on 5% of the snaps. So it's 25 divided by 13. If we can just eliminate 1 or 2 plays a game, we're playing pretty damn good defense, but 1 or 2 plays a game. In the pass game, we gave up 21 plays on the year that were 25 or more yards. So 21 for 748, that's 35 yards a play right there. The other 377 plays accounted for 1,751 yards or 4.6 yards a play. So same shit right there. 21% of the plays, or roughly 40% of the plays against us, accounted for 30, not 40%, 4% of the plays against us accounted for 30% of the offense against us. If you can eliminate the big plays, you can become a championship defense. So again, if you look at it, 46 plays on the year accounted for over 1,300 yards. That was 32% of the offense. The other 825 plays accounted for just over 2,800 yards of the offense, or 3.46 yards a play. So stop the run, eliminate the big plays. And the big plays, like I said, in the run game is all about pursuit and tackling from the back end. You can get beat off the ball. A linebacker can misfit, but that's in the secondary. And in the pass game, it always means to me, it means keeping the ball in front and inside, trading short completions for headaches and knocking your ass out, and not getting the ball thrown over your head. And the last thing about a championship defense, stop the run, eliminate big plays, is take the ball away. In 2010, Vanderbilt had 15 takeaways. In 2011, we had 29 takeaways. We were 4th in the country in interceptions, 11th in the country or something like that in takeaways, and we had 5 defensive scores on the year. And to me, we talk about when we intercept the ball, we go from defense to offense in a hurry. I mean, we practice the hell out of that. And this year we had a game against South Carolina where we intercept the ball and our middle linebacker pitches it to a corner and goes and looks for a block. We encourage and we coach that stuff. I mean, we want to score on defense. I think that's such a big momentum deal. When you score on defense, you score in the kicking game right there. And that's something that we take a tremendous amount of pride in. So characteristics of a championship defense, stop the run. Nobody runs the ball on us. That's our identity. That's a mindset. Eliminate big plays, how we just talked about it, and take the ball away. And then the last one that I kind of put in a notch below that because of who we are, I'd say that this isn't necessarily synonymous with every single championship defense I've ever been a part of, but wreck the decision maker. In 2010, Vanderbilt had 20 sacks. This year we had 27 sacks, up 7 from the year before. And to me, I tell our guys this, don't, play defense, not defenses. I don't give a crap whether we're rushing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Let's get our ass after the quarterback. I mean, when we coach the hell out of pass rush, we try to scheme protections like everybody else does. But to me, it's all about us, getting after the quarterback, wrecking the decision maker, getting hits on him. And interestingly enough, I think we do a study. We're in the process of doing a study. I've had years where, as I said before, I think sometimes when you look at your big play tape, or you look at your sacks tape, I should say, I've gotten more sacks from non-pressure situations, from a four-man rush, and more pressures from a blitz. I think people see a pressure coming sometimes and throw quick and things like that. But I think the threat of the pressure, all right, and then popping out, or just the threat of the pressure and bringing 4 or 3, sometimes you get more sacks out of 4 and 3-man rushes than you do out of just blitzing all the time. I think the threat of the blitz a lot of times is more effective than the blitz itself. This first segment will be mostly just kind of identity and things like that. Then we'll get going. We got 4 more hours, so trust me, we can get into some football then. To me, then, when I talk to our guys about winning football, there's 4 things that we analyze every week. 1, down and distance. 2, winning the turnover margin and sudden change. 3, winning the field area. And 4, winning the clock situation. And the ones we talk about winning the down and distance, we talk about 1st and 10 and 3rd down specifically. On 1st and 10, our commitment is nobody runs the ball on us. And that's the mindset. When we talk about 1st and 10, the calls that I'll make are designed to stop the run, whatever that means to you. On 1st and 10, our goal is 2 yards or less on 1st and 10. Out of 210 snaps where teams ran the ball on us on 1st and 10, we had 97 out of 210, 2 yards or less. That's okay. It's not great. Obviously, we want that statistic to be higher. But we're committed to, on 1st and 10, stopping the run. On 3rd down this year, we were 63%, 123 out of 193. On 3rd and long, we were 84 for 105, 80%. 3rd and medium, 27 out of 56, 48%. 3rd and short, 12 out of 32, 38%. 3rd and long to us is 3rd and 7 or more. And what we want to do on that is, a lot of times we'll 4-man rush. We'll play 2 deep, 5 under. We'll play quarter, half. Or we'll zone blitz, get the ball out quick, and tackle them before they get a first down. That's what we'll do. We'll try to force a hot throw and tackle them. So that's 3rd and 7 or more. 3rd and 3 to 6, we talked about a no-cover zone being 5 yards in front of the line of scrimmage. Well, if it's 3rd and 3 to 6 and they gain 5 yards, they might just get the first down. So in that situation, we talk a lot. Offensive coaches on 3rd and 3 to 6 talk about they think players, not plays. Well, as a defensive coach then, I think win your one-on-one battle. We'll play a little tighter coverage. We'll play more man-to-man. We'll get up in your face. We'll try to disrupt routes, and we try really hard on 3rd and 3 to 6. We'll bring 5. We'll bring 6. We'll do different things, but we think win your one-on-one. We'll play press man. Win your one-on-one battle on 3rd and 3 to 6. 3rd and short, which we call 3rd and 1 to 2. We're thinking run there and reacting to play action pass. And we're always probably going to call more of a run defense in that particular situation and be protected on the edge to defend the run and the pass. So, we talk about winning 1st and 10. Fellas, nobody runs the ball on us on 1st and 10. And by the way, when you look at your big play tape, I think you'll find big plays happen on you in the pass game more on 1st down than any other down because you've got your one-on-ones, you've got your play action, you're playing more run-type things right there. So, that's one of the things we really take a good hard look at. And win 3rd down. Get your ass off the field on 3rd down. That's the money down right there. And we really work hard on what teams do against us on 3rd down and trying to be good at what we do. Win the turnover margin, win the sudden change. I don't have the stats from this year yet, but in 2010, in SEC games, the team that won the turnover margin was 32-5 in 2010, in winning the sudden change. I know this much. You win the turnover battle, you're going to win a lot of football games. And I think this year, when we were plus, I think we were 7-0 or 6-0 or something like that, or 6-1. When we were minus, I think we were 0-5, so something along those lines. And this year, as I said, we had 19 interceptions, we had 29 takeaways, we were plus 2 turnover margin. So we talk about creating turnovers. Our goal every game was 3 takeaways a game. But maybe more importantly than that, our goal on any time our offense had a turnover, or there was a kick, we call it a sudden change situation when there was a kickoff return or punt return or block kick against us, our goal was a 3 and out. If you got a 3 and out after any sudden change, the most points an offense could get against you was kicking a field goal. I don't care whether they got the ball on our 1-yard line, 1st and goal. We took the mindset, put out the fire. Let's go. Let's rock. Let's get in there. It's just another opportunity for us to play. And early in the season, before our offense got rocking, that was a real challenge for us. I mean, against South Carolina, they got us pretty good. I think we were rolling the ball to them a couple times, but our guys really stepped up and played their butt off. Hey, just don't let them score on defense. You hold them to the 2 or 3 yard line, we'll stop them and we'll save points for you right there. And that's a mindset, because there's two things that can happen. You can get that oh shit mentality, oh crap, we're back on the field. Or you can get that, hey, let's take this as a real challenge, let's step up and let's win not only the turnover margin, having more takeaways than your opponent does, but winning the sudden change. And that's something, these aren't clinic talk. These are things, and Durham can tell you, we talk about every week, I promise you that. Third thing is win the field geography. And the two areas we talk about there are winning the red zone, everybody talks about that, and winning the coming out. The coming out to us is when they have the ball in the shadow of their own goalpost. And the first two things we talk about there are think hard count, deep ball. Hard count, deep ball. Hard count, most offenses on that first play are going to run a hard count, because if they get a 5-yard penalty, it's really a half-a-yard penalty. They can get a cheap 5 and get it to 1st and 5 on you. And then think deep ball. Deep ball often is as good as a punt in that situation. Our philosophy on that in the coming out area right there, and that's the second one there, is we want to score first of all. And I promise you, I'm calling a defense that's coming after their ass on the coming out area, and we want to score either a safety or we want a takeaway right there. And we had a safety this year. We had like I said, we had 5 defensive scores, a couple of which were short yard deals there. And then we want to score on defense or we want a 3 and out. I don't have the stats to bear it out, but I know this. If we get the ball for our offense on their side of the 50-yard line, our chances of scoring increase dramatically. So to me, it's not just letting them get a couple first downs and tilt the field back in your direction. It's trying to get a 3 and out in the coming out area. The second thing we do is we talk about the red zone. We were in the red zone 39 times this year on defense. We gave up only 20 touchdowns, 20 out of 39, just around 50%, and 8 field goals. We had a whole bunch of takeaways and missed field goals and things like that. I got them on downs down there. If you watch the bowl game, we blocked a big field goal down there. We fumbled the second half kick, had the ball at the 10-yard line, and they end up missing a field goal down there against us. So, I mean, again, that's something we practice. Teams change on offense when they get from the 20 to we divide that area of the field from red zone to me starts at the 25. Some people say it's a little far out there, but that's where it starts in overtime, so that's why I do that. I look at the offense from the 25 to the 12. I look at from the 12 to the 4, and I look at from the 4 and in, and I study how their game changes as they move the field right there. And our goal on defense all the time in the red area, we call the red zone the compete zone. We don't call it we call it the compete zone. And when I call it the compete zone, every compete zone situation to us is a 7-point situation. So if the offense scores a touchdown, we try to make it like a game. Like I talked about, trying to find creative ways to stimulate your players. If the offense scores, they win 7-0. If we hold them to a field goal, we win 4-3 because it's 7 points. If we hold them to no score, whether it's a turnover, a missed field goal, something along those lines, we win 7-0. So that's how I measure our success in the red zone after every game. So if they had, say, 4 situations in the red zone, 4 times 7 is 28, measure how many points they got in the red zone and how many points that we saved. And you have a little bit of don't make it too hard. It's pretty easy to figure out right there. They scored 4 touchdowns, got news for you. They won 28-0. We held them to 4 field goals, we win 16-12. So that's, you kind of look at it in those terms, and you can tell your guys, and you guys can figure out, hey, we're pretty good in the red zone. This is how we're doing it right there. So, that's something that, again, the mindset that we try to establish. And lastly, the clock situations. I mean, to me, when you're playing the most competitive teams in your league, we're honestly at Vanderbilt, we aren't going to blow a whole lot of people out. Most of our games this year came down to the final possession in some way, shape, or form. And whether it's the 2-minute offense against you, and I always talk about 2-minute offense success on defense requires conditioning, composure, communication. Conditioning, composure, and hell, today on offense, most of the teams you're playing are no-huddle offenses anyway, so it's almost like a 2-minute situation the entire game. You don't have to be going fast, but it requires conditioning, composure, and communication. And that's what we got to be able to do. We don't even huddle on defense anymore. And like I said, it requires a significant amount of conditioning, composure, and communication. And we signal into everybody, and they're responsible for getting the signal. Then the mic communicates with the outside linebackers to his right and his left and the tackles in front of them. The outside linebackers communicate with the end in front of them. The safeties communicate with one another into the corner to their side to reaffirm the signal. And it's important that we're all on the same page. As I said, we do a significant amount of blitz A versus formation A, blitz B versus formation B. And it's important that we're always coordinated. Now, in 2-minute situations, go back to the thought about play defense, not defenses. I try to eliminate a lot of those check with me calls in 2-minute defenses because things are going a little faster than what you might expect. So you call a defense, get yourselves guys lined up, get them ready to play in that situation. And if you watch this year, I think there's room for improvement. There's an opportunity to improve in the clock situation. Probably 3 or 4 times in games that we did not win this year, including the bowl, we gave up a touchdown before the half. Alabama, South Carolina, and Cincinnati come to mind. Arkansas and Cincinnati, we gave up touchdowns before the half. Not necessarily because we weren't prepared. We just didn't execute well in that situation. It's something that we need to do a better job of right there. And the other situation that's probably less coached is the 4-minute situation. And what's the 4-minute situation for those of you guys who coach on both sides of the ball? That's the situation in the game where the offense is, on defense, you're losing in the game. And the offense is trying to run the clock out. Making the guys understand what's needed in that situation. You know, offenses call it the hammer offense or whatever it is. So we tell our guys most teams are going to run the ball. Often they'll have a play action or a naked on it. We have to be the best tackling team in the country in this situation. The second guy in, come try to strip the ball out. Second and third guy in. Force them out of bounds when possible right there. Anticipate hard count on 3rd and 4 or less. Do a great, ball. Don't jump off sides. Do a great job, as I said, on nakeds, containing on bootlegs, things like that for quarterback run, things along those lines. I don't know what the rule is in high school, but in college, we can control the timeouts from the sideline. Coach Franklin can call a timeout. I don't know if somebody on the field has to call a timeout for you guys in high school. So sometimes we used to, before that rule came about, we used to make the signal for the defense, then call timeout alert. So we'd have somebody on the responsible for telling the safety, hey, after this play, I'm calling timeout. Educating our guys when and when not to call timeout. Not having to call timeout when the ball's out of bounds. Not having to call timeout, when it's an incomplete pass. And it's really critical to me that you're excellent on first down in this situation. You got to get them to a 2nd and long. You got to get them to a 3rd and long situation, so that you give yourself the edge. Now, anybody saw our Georgia game this year? We gave ourselves a chance to win in that game because of this. Anybody saw our Arkansas game? We gave our team a chance to win against Arkansas because we did a great job in this situation getting the ball back to our offense, who executed a flawless 2-minute drill, only to have the kicker miss a field goal, or against Georgia just didn't happen at the end. We threw a play into the end zone. Where we did a shitty job, exact same situation on the road against Florida, down 20-14, we jump off sides, on 4th and inches. We didn't contain on a naked, on 3rd and 7, and the guy gets outside of us and gets the first down. Little things like that. And that's, again, I emphasize these things. I call that winning football. And I'm a big believer in this. I've seen teams win 49-42 on defense and play winning football on defense. And I've seen teams lose, or in a 6-3 or 7-6 game and not play winning football. I mean, these are the things that are winning football right there. Those little things that separate winning and losing at any level of football, and educating your guys on why this is important, the how and the why this is important. Our practice plan. So when we talk to our guys, and again, I'm talking more identity this first hour, and we'll rock from there. Be on time. Or be there. I can't help you get better if you're not there. I mean, be there. I mean, this sits on our board. This is the first page of our playbook. Be on time. All right? Learn what to do. Learn how to do it. Practice hard and fast. And be a team player. I mean, that's what we talk about right there to our guys. You got to be there. You can't make the club in the tub, whatever it is right there. And being there, there's a lot of different reasons why guys aren't there. Injuries, class, this. I always got the, I need guys who are going to be consistently be there. You need to be on time. And on time to us, Coach Franklin always says there is no on time. You're either 10 minutes early or you're late. Learn what to do. We already talked about that, assignment and alignment. Learn how to do it. Again, a mentor of mine once talked to me about there's the who stage, the how stage, and the aggressive stage. Who stage is learning assignments and what to do. The how stage is once you know what to do, it's learning how to execute the assignment. And the aggressive stage is the who's, you know your assignment, you know what to do. Now you can concentrate on playing as fast and as confidently as you can. And for every individual, those stages come at different times. That's why sometimes a freshman can play quicker than another guy or what have you right there. But you really can't skip that part of the process right there. There's a progression. Learning assignments and what to do. I now know what to do. How do I do it? And you see the development of those guys. Boy, that's a beautiful thing. Practice hard and fast. If you come watch us practice, I'm telling you now, our head coach, if you're not running between drills, you're not going full speed, you ain't going to play. I mean, I still believe that you practice hard and fast. I mean, it doesn't always have to be a tackling or a live drill. It can be a thud, it can be a tag, but individual for us, group work, teamwork. You watch us practice, we practice hard and we practice fast, and I don't apologize for that. And be a team player. Understand how your role fits into the team concept. I just talked about tempos in practice to us. I'm a big believer in a teaching progression, and I don't know how much meeting time you guys have, but to me we have position meetings, and we utilize on the defensive side a significant amount of walkthrough. I'm a big believer in the third dimension. I can put it on the board, but then I try to line up formation recognitions, things along those lines, allowing our guys to get out there and see formations, make the adjustments according to the formation. And we have then in practice we have what we call a teach tempo. And a teach tempo to us is when basically our defensive players are servicing our other defensive players. And when we do that, we're very precise about it. Rather than say, give me 11 guys, our second mic is our center. Our 2 tackles are our 2 offensive guards. Our 2 ends are our 2 offensive tackles. Our strong linebacker is our tight end. Our free safety knows when we go to teach tempo, he's the quarterback. Our will linebacker knows he's the fullback. Our strong safety knows he's the tailback. And our corners know they're the wide receivers. And then any breakouts, third wide receiver adjustments, the strong safety handles, and he becomes a wide receiver. So that we don't have to, hey, you get over here. Hey, come on, you're in here. I mean, so we really try to do a great job teaching. Now, these periods there, I tell everybody, don't be a practice hero. You're not going to make the team and teach tempo. These are just getting fits, fills, force, formation recognition. We have a tempo called tag tempo. Now, I think the most undercoached part of football, whether it be Pop Warner, junior high, high school, college, or pro, is body positioning. And again, you heard me say I talk about a lot of 3-word phrases. Knees bent, chest up, eyes up. That's body positioning to me right there in a nutshell. Knees bent, good football position, with your chest over your knees, nose over toes, chin up, eyes forward. Chest up, not bending at the waist, not overextended, not underextended, eyes up. Knees bent, chest up, eyes up. Everything we coach is football positioning. If I went back again and we're coaching my son's 7th grade team, knees bent, chest up, eyes up. I watched the guy from the Broncos last night go out of the game because his head's down. I watched something else happen. I just want to throw up in my mouth when I see stuff like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Knees bent, chest up, eyes up. Whether you're a great tennis player, a great golfer, a baseball player, a football player, a basketball player. Knees bent, chest up, eyes up. Knees bent, chest up, eyes up. And when we talk about tag tempo, all tag tempo to us is, when we go against the offense generally in no pads. Something along those lines. Rather than thudding up our best running back, Zach Stacy, a tag tempo to us means we run to the ball, the first guy to the ball carrier tags off below the waist to put himself in a knees bent, chest up, eyes up position right there. And all the other 10 players on the field then, they run to the ball. They have to cross one line in pursuit before a second whistle blows there to indicate they're taking their proper angle of pursuit to the ball. We call that our Black Death grade. The only thing I grade on defense, all other coaches grade their positions, but what I grade on defense is our pursuit grade every game. And to me, a 90% or better pursuit grade means 11 guys functioning as one unit on a single play to give you the best pursuit grade. The second tempo to us is thud, and thud's the same thing. Knees bent, chest up, eyes up, but the first guy gets to the ball carrier, and he thuds them up. Doesn't finish the tackle, but gets in a good body position. When you talk about leverages, there's 2 types of leverages you always talk about. Whether it's keeping the ball in front and inside, or whether it's pursuing it from inside out. And then the second leverage is pad under pad leverage. Knees bent, tackling with the chest or eyes on the rise right there, skying your eyes, keeping your feet alive and active, ripping your arms up through the ball carrier. Well, a thud to us is getting in good football position, not getting out of a bad spine angle right there, not reaching, not overextending one way or another, putting yourself in a good position and thudding up a ball carrier right there. Thud them up, release them, let them continue. Everybody else to us is playing tag tempo, flying to the ball, crossing a line right there. And you can't thud from the side, you can't thud from behind. It has to be a good frontal position right there. You got to move your feet to get into position. You can't reach, you can't grab, you got to draw the charge, make a good chest-to-chest tackle in a thud situation. And the last one is scrimmage. I mean, we do a fair amount of scrimmaging. I do not believe you need to practice live to teach tackling. I mean, I think to me, in some ways, I think thuds and tags really coach your guys to get into a better body position than a scrimmage scenario anyway. I think you got to teach them to move their feet, get themselves into position. And body positioning and angles of pursuit to the ball carrier are coached on every single play when you come watch us play. Football's all about, like I said, body position and angles. Body position and angles. And that's something I really believe in. And when we just interviewed a bunch of people for a corner job, guys drew up a couple pursuit drills for me. And like I said, I truly, truly believe, like I said, you're coaching angles on pursuit angles on every single play. And it's not the ability to go where the ball is, it's the ability to go where the ball's going.